Good evening, neighbors. How's everybody doing? Great, great, great. So, if you don't know, I'm Rahum Williams. I'm your council person. I'm also your neighbor. This is our second town hall meeting. This is, I know, probably, I don't know if everybody, maybe Karen came to the first one, but I don't think everybody here was able to come to the first one. Something about notice. You know, we're gonna touch on that because some of you have let me know that you did not know about that. So we're gonna touch on that also in our first presentation. So just to start off a little bit about tonight, what we're going to do is we're gonna have presentations. We're gonna have presentations from some of the folks that work at 205. Right? They're the folks that take care of us on a daily basis. So they're going to tell us a little, introduce themselves, talk a little bit about what they do. And when they do that, you feel free to ask some questions. We're going to have a short question and answer period for each presenter. And then after they finish presenting, then we're going to open it up for broader questions and anything that you have for me. So does that sound pretty good? Okay, great. So, with that said, you know, once again, thank you for coming out tonight. And we're going to start off with the Director of Communications, Matt Amaral. Feel free to applaud. It's fine.
Maybe at the podium or?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Is this how this works? Okay. Can you guys hear me? Maybe I'll just speak into the podium then. I don't have a speech, I just have notes. So as Rahum mentioned, or Councilor Williams, my name is Matt Amaral. I'm the Communications Director. I started in October, and I'm really here just first of all to introduce myself to some of the community, let you know a little bit about what I do, what we have planned for the future, talk about a couple of specific communications initiatives, namely the newsletter, the website, how you can report about some issues, and then open it up for any questions that you guys have. So a little bit about me. I do live here in Montclair, 5-minute walk away on Union Street. Huh? Macadosh is the name of the reporter at Montclair Local. No, that's okay. I'm friendly with Matt, so all good. So my career before this was mainly in nonprofit communications and humanitarian organizations. Lived in the city, and then I moved here last year in February, but my sister and brother-in-law and nephews have lived here for years. My parents are in Cedar Grove, so I know the community somewhat, and you know, I looked to see if there were communications jobs in the townships, and there was, and then I started in October. So broadly, you know, when I joined, I knew that communications had been a little lacking, but that was mostly because there were just some staffing inconsistencies. And when I started, I wanted to just bring a little more consistency, a little more regular communication between the residents. There was a little turnover in my role, and IT did a great job of picking up the slack. But that wasn't their primary job, so I'm hoping to do just more proactive communications between the township and the residents. But I also don't think that improving communications is just one way between us and the residents. I think it's two-way. I want to find more ways to get feedback and input from residents about projects and initiatives and things going forward. So that's what I've been trying to do since October, and I'm glad to meet some people here. I've met people through email and on the phone at council meetings, but I'm trying to do more of these opportunities to meet you guys in person, and you guys can put a face to the email address when you email info@montclairnjusa.org. That's me responding on the other end. So one thing I wanted to point out that we started was the newsletter. So the town did have a newsletter at some point, and then it stopped being sent, but we restarted it this January. So it's a monthly email newsletter. The first one went out in January. We plan to send it out at the beginning of each month. And the way that you do that is, the way you can sign up for it is by going to this button here, which says sign up for more alerts. This is just the homepage of the website. And for now, we are doing the newsletter via our alert system, which is called Rave Mobile Safety. So if you're already getting alerts about high wind advisory or snow or wind, if your email's on there, you'll get the newsletter. And I've been trying to encourage more people, if they haven't already signed up for alerts, they can right there with that button. And I'll just show, for those that haven't seen it yet, the first newsletter. So the first one, we had this sort of New Year's message from the mayor, and that was like a sort of a one-time introductory message to kick off the new year and sort of introduce the newsletter. But the basic structure will be similar going forward, where we want to have a sort of what I'm calling like an updates from the council, which is just focused on the governance, legislation that was passed, ordinances, resolutions, major personnel decisions, proclamations, if a councilor is doing an event like this. And then you'll also see on this left side, like the official township meetings. So council meetings, planning board meetings, is there a holiday where the municipal building is closed? So the top is sort of like the business end of the newsletter and finding out what's going on in government. And then the rest towards the bottom is our updates and information and events that I solicit from the different township departments. This was the MLK breakfast that was closed because of the weather. Here's Councilor Williams' meeting. We had a summary of Vision Zero Montclair, something from Sustainability Department, a recap of Councilor Anderson's last meeting. So it's both intended to show you what was happening in the past month in the township and what's to look forward to. And I mean, part of the reason that I think one of my biggest priorities is just to communicate information that's already out there to residents. Like the health department puts out a newsletter every month, and it's on the website, but it had been, like, I don't know how people would access it unless it was proactively communicated out. So just little things like this that I can do to, let residents know what the health department's doing, what screenings are happening, what resources there are, stuff like that. So yes, it was sent out in the first or second week of January. Oh, and I also, what I'm looking at right now is on the website, I made a page. If you just search Township Newsletter, like all future newsletters will be here. Yep, if you just search. Sure. Yeah, and you're not the only person that gave that feedback. And I tried it on a few different devices, and it looked okay. But I think what I'm going to do going forward is when you get the email, it'll have the newsletter in the email itself, but then I'll put a link at the top, so you can just click and be automatically taken to that page. And hopefully that just covers. Because the issue, it's a technical issue with emails. Everybody has different devices, different email software they use, so it can look different with different devices. So hopefully going forward, it'll look okay in the email, and then if not, you can at least go here to the page to look at it. Yeah.
I have received alerts, but as far as I can remember, and I may be wrong, I don't remember receiving alerts.
Okay. Can I, after this, maybe take down your email because there might be some residents that only have like a phone number on the alert system, but maybe not the email address. So yeah, I also wanted to make sure everybody.
So I am master signing list, and then if you are willing to do that,
Sure.
each person, each department, can take a picture of that.
Sure. Yeah. Any. I mean, I'll.
If any of you are, going to be looking to assemble this.
Yeah.
So I literally get the email alerts. have never gotten a newsletter.
Okay. I'll take down whoever emails and make sure it's on the list. The alert system we use, it's not really built for proper like newsletter design and sharing out. In the future, we might move to like a system that's built for that, but I just wanted to start the communication and sort of use what we have right now. But I'm happy to like take anyone's email address and then I'll go on the back end and actually add it to the list so that you guys get it. I also wanted to make sure that everybody knows that email at the bottom, probably can't all read it, but the info@montclairnjusa.org, that's like our general email for people to email the township. That goes right to me. So that's the way to get in touch with me. And if you went to just our directory here, I'm listed here, and there's a press email, press@montclairnjusa.org, that also goes to me. And then it's not up there, but my email is mamaral@montclairnjusa.org. I just want to make sure everybody knows they can get in touch with me in that way. Any questions about the newsletter?
I don't seem to be getting the newsletter. I mean, like, I subscribe to it on email, and like, it doesn't seem to be getting it for some.
Like you hit that. Like you.
The fourth one, I don't get like the third one for some reason.
Okay. Let me take down your email. Yeah.
So what happened is my name is Tony Fan. I'm the CIO at the township for the IT department. Everybody probably remember Katia Walk. She was the previous communication director. She was in charge of the newsletter, and then she retired. When we were using the Swift 911, if you recall, before called Rave Mobile, Swift 911 we signed up with. That's why you're getting all the newsletters, separate group, senior citizen newsletter, such like that. When we migrated, basically, Rave Mobile purchased Swift 911, and then they merged it to the Rave Mobile system. The merging was kind of mess. So that's why the email list is not quite they used to be. As Matt mentioned, that I am looking into a new platform within the next couple months. We will address that newsletter and then the email issue. So if you have any question, send it to Matt, and Matt will get everything. And when we migrated to the new platform, hopefully with a month or two, then hopefully we will address those residents is not getting a newsletter, is not getting the alert, such an issue like that. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of us are mobile device users. We don't really sit at our desktops or laptops much anymore. And the website is not really a conducive user experience for the phone, especially the newsletter that like bleeds off your screen. And I'm wondering if there's a way for you to be able to format also, because like now you can format for different types of devices.
Thank you for that question. We already addressed it to reaching out to our provider, and then for the website hosting. So we are working with them. We are also looking at the new skin for the website upcoming this year. Hopefully with that, then we can be a little bit more mobile friendly. I understand that people is not on the laptop, desktop anymore. iPad, tablet, cell phone, smartphone basically is their daily device that they be using. So we definitely notice that. We will talk to the vendor, see to address that issue.
I really don't have the technical words for it, but anything that we're talking about or that we're migrating to, is there any connection whatsoever with Zen City, which was spoken about?
No, this is nothing to do with Zen City at all.
Sign a contract with Zen City for any
Right now, we have no contract with Zen City whatsoever. Right now, we do not have any contract with Zen City. We still, it's the topic that I think in the communication committee, we're still discussing it. Still looking in the Zen City is still on the table, as well as other vendor. We're still looking through it, but no contract currently has been signed with Zen City.
Will there be public comment before anything like that is signed? I mean, that is a huge civil.
So probably that one, I will leave it at the end with Council William to answer that, to address that, if that is okay with you.
But yeah, we are looking at sort of the other major players in the space for what are called like these community engagement platforms, because, well, there is a part of Zen City that does like it can look at public social media accounts, news articles, but we're not doing any of that. And I also know if you can turn that off in Zen City, but again, we're not using Zen City at all. There's other platforms that offer. Yeah, we're looking at the other sort of software that's available. And the other ones don't rely on that kind of sort of data collecting. It's more like you have a platform and we're saying, oh, we're planning renovations to this space. What would you like to see? And it's a survey that you could click on and fill out your survey, and all you share is your email or not. No, we're not looking, no.
So right now, we listen to the resident concern. That's why we
Yeah.
didn't tell the City no. We're also looking at that different vendor, like Matt said, different similar idea, but different platform, different technology. So right now, it's still on the communication committee for discussion. Nothing has come out yet, finalized yet. So again, we're going to let the Councilor Williams address that when it's time to speak.
Yeah, there is a communications committee that Councilor Williams and 2 other council members are a part of, where we discuss these things. So I think the committee is great for me because I'm not making a decision in a vacuum. I can talk about it with council and other staff and so on. So.
There will be public input. On Saturday morning meeting that you there, I know that that was something that you were very concerned about, and that's the reason why we kind of did not, well, that and other reasons was the reasons why we did not just choose that. We're looking at other things, and just to be completely clear about this type of software, what it does is, let's say, for example, I'm gonna pick on Planner Tally right here. She's looking at a project and she's gonna talk about something this evening, and she wants community input. She can send out a survey to the residents and get their feedback, right? And that's the primary purpose of the software. It's not, I don't wanna read your social media post, right? I'm not on social media, I don't wanna, right? Yeah, right. So that's not the intent. There's nothing that we can even do with that data, and we don't want to read it, right? We just want input from the community, and that's the sole purpose of it.
I just pulled up an example, like so Princeton and many other towns in New Jersey. I mean, several municipalities use it, and it would basically look like this, where the township can put projects that it's working on, and then as a resident, you could go view project, and it would sort of be this one-stop shop to see where in the project it is, these phases. Is there a meeting that was relevant that you can watch on video? You can put out questionnaire surveys. So it's all about just getting that two-way form. So we haven't bought or signed up for any software like this, but we're just looking at it. So. Yeah.
So as the communications director, does that mean that you're in charge of the town website and all the departments under it? Or?
Yes. This is the short answer, yes.
So I've noted this before, but some of the departments, the information is really outdated,
Yep.
specifically the building department has information related to pandemic era notices that were rescinded in July of '21 that are still listed. There are new requirements, new forms that are required as an architect. I can't even download those. It's not on the engineering page. It's not in the Department of Human Services. It's not in the building department. So I don't know if they're not giving you the proper information, but it's incredibly outdated and makes my job difficult to do work in this town.
Yeah, no, I have control over the department. So if I'm working through like a backlog of things that need to be updated on the site and accurate info. So if there's stuff that you see, my email address is open, and okay, I'll make sure. What was your name? Karen, okay, I'll check. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Matt. So at this time, we're going to bring up the head of DCS, that's Department of Community Services, and he'll introduce himself and explain what he does. So, Austin Ashley.
Thank you very much. My name is Austin Ashley. I am the Director of the Department of Community Services. With me tonight is Norberto Hernandez, who's the Township Engineer. So today we'll be talking about a little bit about the traffic improvements that we've done in the last year and some of the upcoming improvements that we have planned. Just a little bit of background on what the Department of Community Services is. The DCS proper includes refuse recycling, streets and roads, storm sewers, and parks. That's our main area of concern. There's about 82 employees, which is down over the years. So we're, as everyone else is dealing with a reduction in staff, so are we. So today we'll be talking about the traffic improvement that we've been doing. If you have noticed throughout the town, there has been a reduction in the speed limit for all township roads. Now have a speed limit of 25 miles an hour. In all school zones, it is 20. Very recently, we have been working with the county and Vision Zero to get the county roads also lowered, which they have agreed to do. We're grateful for their cooperation and the support of Vision Zero. Thanks. So some of the things that we're doing to improve pedestrian safety, bicyclist safety, and motor users of our roads is installation of four-way stops. I don't know if you've noticed that some of the intersections we placed reflective bollards, and the idea behind those bollards is to stop the passing of vehicles on the right. If I'm the first car coming to an intersection and I see a pedestrian and I stop for that pedestrian, there's no guarantee that the car behind me is going to know what's going on. So the idea behind these bollards is to put an obstacle with a reflective surface in that line of sight and protect the pedestrians as they're trying to cross at those locations. You also notice at those locations that I don't know if it's on this slide, but we also, at those locations, a lot of them have RRFBs, which are rectangular, rapidly flashing beacons, which is a rapid rectangular. It's an odd word, but those are very effective at letting drivers know that someone is attempting to cross the road safely, especially in areas where visibility can be difficult. One of the obstacles that we're seeing nowadays is it seems like headlights have become weaponized. They're so incredibly bright that it is blinding for drivers as you approach an intersection where there's another car there. We're exploring ways to tackle that issue, but it's I don't know what they were thinking when they made those headlights that bright. It's sure. That one? Okay, yeah, these are the locations where we have added four-way stops.
Those are the most recent.
You can keep it on that one. Yeah. And at the previous town hall that or community meeting we were at, we were accused of not being entertaining enough. So we've added animation to our presentation. Norberto, would you like to talk about some of the four-way stops we had?
Yeah, so these are some of the many locations and intersections that we've identified as priorities due to, severe crashing or repeated history of crashing at these locations. So these have been installed recently, but we are not stopping here. We are continuing to evaluate other roads for, I guess, the Third Ward's relevance, primarily Harrison Avenue, We're currently evaluating several intersections along that corridor that are problematic. Harrison Llewellyn, Harrison Gates, just to name a couple. So we'll. Yes, there's issues. Yes, there's several issues with South Fullerton as well that we're exploring.
Traffic comes, one guy goes and you keep people slow down, if they raise through, I mean, it's worth your life just to cross into the library. It's ridiculous.
I live in the same corner, and I have totally, speed. And I'm wondering why the lights are yellow and not red. Because when people see yellow lights, they think they can still go. And flashing yellow lights, I don't think we're stopping people. And again, I just have a question, why?
Well, it's more of a warning light. That's not something that the township. That's not something that the township governs. That's a federal mandate. That's something that's out of our control.
You can't put in a flashing red light when they hit that button, and if it flashes yellow, they can't flash red.
Yellow says you can go.
Yes, that's controlled by. There's a certain set of rules and requirements that govern roadways. It's called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the MUTCD. Those are the laws that govern the roads throughout the United States. So we have to follow those.
Because that is also a speedway for trucks, racing up and down. It's unbelievable what Roosevelt gets. We waited 25 years to get the road paved after they put in Belgian block curbs. But they did nothing to repair the street until last year. A year and a half after the construction of the new apartment building in the south. And it's ridiculous. Willow Street is just another issue. The architect said in the planning meeting, we pull in for cars. Well, it is non-existent, and as soon as there's a prime truck, an Amazon truck, or any other delivery truck goes into that intersection, you can't get around it. It becomes a bottleneck. So the fact that the architect so gratuitously said there was going to be a pulling space did nothing to help that area at all. Nothing. And it's a bottleneck.
The other thing, we all live on the same street, the same building. When you're driving east on Roosevelt Place to make either a left or right on South Willow, I realize that parking is out of there. You cannot, there's the cars where they're parked legally. You have to be in the middle of the road in order to make your turn. So it's completely dangerous. Like those two parking spots need to get rid of them. You can't see.
100%.
We walk everywhere, bike everywhere. I've been hit by a car. Veronica's been hit by a car. That's why we're here.
So I hear you. I walk everywhere also. Walked here tonight. I'm going to be walking home after this. But so South Willow, that is, and I don't know if you have it in your slides, but that's one of the areas that we had a lot of complaints about, and that's one of the areas that was improved in front of that building where there was a single lane, and now there is a loading and unloading zone there. So that no, it's you can still turn, but the problem was with the people that lived in 2 South Willow were complaining that people were parking there, and that was a single lane. They were parking there, and you had to cross the yellow line into oncoming traffic in order to get around. Right, you can still turn.
Well, what if you're the car number 2 and the car in front of you is waiting for the turn?
Should pull into the. I mean, I get your point, but I get your point, but it was an improvement to create better traffic flow, and it creates some other issues.
An improvement for the transit.
Okay.
I would just say, I do not live in this part of the corridor. However, there are other corners, to your point, where the legal parking is right up to the edge. And that could be something to look at town-wise, because you really get there and you've got to stick your car out into the intersection before you can even see if it's okay.
Right, we understand parking's at a minimum, but those first two parking meters need to go. I mean, it's an accident every.
So this is very good, right? This is part of the reason why we have town hall meetings, right? So we hear from folks. But I would encourage folks not to wait until we have a town hall meeting. This seems like something that you've been suffering through for a long period of time. Well, that's not true. I'm listening, right? And I haven't heard some of the stuff I haven't heard from before. So I would encourage all of you to, if you have these issues, don't wait until a town council meeting or a town hall meeting. They're too infrequent, right? If you have a safety concern, one of the things, there's a couple of different things you can do. One, these are the folks that are taking care of these departments. You know, his department installs street signs and paves the roads and things of that nature, right? So these are the folks that are doing it. You can send it to me, but I'm going to reach out to him. You can also go through the website, and if you have an issue, not an emergency issue, because that's a 911 thing, but if you have some sort of issue, you can also go through the website. So you have several different options. You can also call, right? There's a directory. I would encourage everyone, don't suffer in silence here. You know, if you see something, because we're all in this together in terms of improving the town. I don't know, all these things are new to me, and you've been dealing with it, so bring it to our attention, and we'll try the best that we can.
Parking expert come in multiple times, and nobody solved this issue. It's a tiny little issue right in front of their building. And after we paid all this money, and the contractor paid all this money, it still wasn't solved. And you're waiting till now, a year later, for the building to realize that there's an issue after they called in a parking expert.
So
what kind of expert was that?
Here's what.
So what kind of expert was that?
Here's what I'll say. That building was built a while ago. I've been in office since July 1st. So one thing, when you come into office, they don't give you a binder full of complaints and issues and stuff from previous times. You start fresh, right? And as things come up, we try to address them. As we try, I know you're making a general comment.
The multiple planning board meetings I attended, that was never addressed.
There's nothing I can do about that. Only thing I could do about it is going forward. So that's how we address the issue on South Fullerton, by hopefully trying to widen the street a little bit so that, South Willow, so that cars that are parked there aren't blocking that single lane. But I still see that it is an issue because, folks are upset.
Through the town, there are many places that you come out, you'll see parking is on the opposite side, which means on your side, and there isn't any other side. You can look both ways and see it. An example of that would be the parking. And you can see it. But if you go down the street across the street, what's happening is all the cars are parked on the inside. They should put the parking on the other side, so that when you come to that bottom, and you see the traffic both ways, there's nobody parked there. That's what they should consider. You put those parking spaces on the other side. And I've looked at it before, and the number of spaces that you put in there will be just about the same.
So one of the things, and hopefully Manny, the head of the parking utility, isn't discouraged from coming up here and doing his presentation by all the questions. But here's what I would say. There's a lot of good questions and information, but we have a lot of presentations to go to, and I want to leave that kind of open at the end of the meeting so that we can kind of have the dialogue back and forth. So if folks don't mind, I'm going to let them continue with their presentation, and then we have 3 more folks right afterwards. Last question.
Because it's not about this specific intersection, but I want your attention on it. I actually came in for this specific reason. The intersection, or like the 3-prong thing, whatever, Van Vleck and Valley is like so dangerous. I've lived here for 4 years, I live down the street from that basically, and I'm there every single day, and honestly, unless it's like really dark and there's almost no one around, I feel like unsafe, like turning left every single time. And there's been a couple of times where I've seen people almost like hit by cars, everything. And it's the same issue where the parking is, I don't know how to word it, the way he worded it, where it's like, yeah, like the parking that's there, like I understand it's really hard to park, but, you know, in this town in general, but the parking that's there makes it so insanely difficult to see if there's a car coming from the left. And there's a curve, and there's another curve on the other side, which like you can't do anything about the curve. I don't want you to do anything about the curve. It's just that because of the curve, it makes it even more dangerous. Because you'll look left, you'll see there's no car, and you have to look right again, obviously, to make sure there's not a car coming down. And then all of a sudden there's a car coming to the left, and then right. It's a dangerous cycle.
Sure. So this is what you're talking about in the term that we use is called daylighting an intersection. So part of what Vision Zero has been looking at is a systematic approach for getting to those intersections that are the most dangerous and kind of triaging the issue. This is a major problem that we are looking at, the daylighting of these intersections to make sure you have the visibility. Roberto and I were just at a meeting down the street for a similar issue. On Union. But the residents can't get out of the driveway, so we're making it, we're adding signage, and we're trying to create that space and give them the visibility that they need to safely exit their building. But this is an issue that we are exploring and that we're looking to improve.
And Austin mentioned a little earlier the plastic delineators, with the reflective material. Not only are those being deployed at crosswalks that we've identified as potentially dangerous, but also at these corner intersections where cars tend to park, either right at the corner or too close where you obscure the vision. So we'll be installing those delineators around the corner to provide a physical barrier and prevent cars from going up. I'm sorry. I think we have a picture somewhere on the slide. This isn't exactly what it looks like, but it's something similar. Yes.
The next
Right.
Yeah, but then.
Yeah. So right now,
that's a kind of a bump out that we're exploring to do. We
Yeah.
did it at Park in Lorraine. Where else is it?
Park in Alexander
Park in
and
Alexander.
a few other intersections. So the issue is this is a new initiative. Right. So this is a new initiative. So if you'd like me to explain, this is a new initiative the township has deployed. We made an initial batch order of, 100 some odd of those delineators, as they're called. And because this is new, we're trying to see where things work, where things don't work. And unfortunately, we did not have enough of the rubber bases that they get mounted in as a temporary measure. So we needed to kind of spread them out a little thin and could not put as many as we wanted to at each location. However, we did order more, I believe. We haven't received them yet, but as we get them, we'll be installing more where they will be, is what I'm getting to. This is, because we were put right before the winter, so, with plowing and everything, it was a little bit of a logistical issue. As we go into the spring, they'll be physically mounted in, either by adhesive or by bolting in. Again, this is new. We're trying to see what works, what doesn't work at different locations and just for the township in general. So again, as we continue to order more and get them installed and evaluate all these problem areas, we'll see what is the appropriate measure to address the certain issue that you're experiencing. Yes.
Well, notice the library, I'm sorry, that's okay. Looking at that painted crosswalk in the way, right at the crest of the South Fullerton, looking to the library side of the street, the paint is barely showing anymore. You've got to go like this to the cars. Nobody stops, they're just crossing the crosswalk.
Yeah, so every year we do sections of roadway that are striped. We can't get to everywhere at every time, but I'll give you an example of Harrison Avenue, Norma Tassi Director of Administration that actually brought this to our attention, that there was a piece of Harrison Avenue that was missing the shoulder striping. And that's the kind of stuff, the shoulder striping is a traffic calming initiative that helps slow traffic down. It's called a road diet. It narrows so hopefully it lowers the speed of the drivers on the road.
There's a perception of a narrower road, so you kind of
slow down
as opposed to a wide open area.
So we've taken those, we made a priority to get crosswalks redone and the safety striping redone. Now, we're not fully complete with that, obviously. This is a thing that never really ends, but it's a yearly ongoing amount of resources that we dedicate to get that striping put back in place, because it is a safety concern.
And also, there's the issue of weather, so we fight against that as well. So right now, obviously, there's salt on the road, the temperature has dropped. This really isn't a conducive time to put down roadway striping. We're actually a little lucky this year because December was relatively mild until we got hit with the cold front. But we're really on hold until probably April, May at best to restart. Once the weather breaks, then we'll kick into restriping. We still have another list of locations that we agree, yes, the roadway striping needs to be refreshed and addressed. So we'll be continuing that soon.
Systematically, because I kind of noticed most of the streets on the Edmonton are in Ward 1 and Ward 2. Is there a rotation that you're doing, coming to the second, the third, and the fourth ward?
We're looking at locations all around. Like I mentioned earlier, we have ongoing studies at several locations in the third ward right now. Hopefully some of those will make it onto next month's meeting as far as ordinances, if it's a multi-way stop, and then they'll get installed, you know, once they can legally. So this is all across town. There's 82 miles of road, and you know, there's a lot of locations that we're looking at once, but so many we can do at any given time. Park Street was a little unique because that was just resurfaced in a major way, so it kind of coincided with the work that was already going on there. But again, we're working throughout the township as a whole, because there's obviously issues in several locations in several wards.
Here's a question that's not real urgent, but I've been having a lot of difficulty with the Summit building and Seymour. And the difficulty is that door is almost impossible to open, and I will tell you why I'm telling you. There's no handicapper, and this is a medical job. I called the town, and the town said, well, we don't own it. Can you tell me who does? No, so I had to, with a lot of time spent, finally find a person in that building and tell them they've not told anybody. But my question is, and it's not your area, do I call the building inspector? Does an inspector go to a building like that and say there's a problem with the door? I'm really very confused by this. And it's open now a number of years. Today somebody with a stroller, not an old person like me, put a rock under the door. And I understood why. So I feel kind of helpless, and I've spent a lot of time on this myself.
It's the same thing with Grabowski with the movie theater. He built ramps inside, but if you're in a wheelchair or if you're holding a cane or a walker, you cannot go inside the building by yourself.
Right.
The handles are up here. They're not accessible kind of handles. They're these long strips.
You call code enforcement.
Built it and, you know.
But
his name on
code
it.
enforcement is who covers that.
Yeah, but meanwhile, code enforcement is not enforcing things.
Well, yeah, sometimes you have to call multiple times, and I can tell you I've done that,
Well,
so it's
thank
just.
you, and I appreciate that, and I understand it's not your purview. But sometimes it's difficult. No, I don't mean code enforcement. I mean working, whatever. But it's frustrating, and this is a town that wants to keep its seniors, and I've been in this town since '71, and we stayed here and moved to a wonderful apartment building. But not everyone can afford to do that.
So I have a question. Sorry, do you want to go first?
No, I know I took up time that was not relevant.
I have a question. So, what she said about housing. I notice each year the taxes go up. May I have a microphone, please? Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I know this each year the taxes go up, and I just wanted to say that it's weird because because I've seen people who leave once their kids graduate from MHS or MKA, and from high school, I mean at least, and it's like we have friends, all our friends who used to live in Montclair or who still live in Montclair, or whose kids graduate from Montclair High School, or who have kids in the school system in years are leaving because they think the taxes are too high and they don't feel like paying taxes in Montclair once their kids are out of high school. And so I just want to know, is there any way we could lower the prices of taxes, or is that up to the state? Because I want to keep these people in Montclair even after their kids graduate from high school. And also, I just want to, because the taxes go up, and I want to be able to live in Montclair the rest of my life. I told myself, the one thing I pledged for my whole life, there'll be lots of changes in my life, but I told myself I feel too at home and attached to Montclair, and I will never be leaving Montclair until the day I pass away at 104 years old, which will be many years from now. So is there any way how you think eventually in the future Montclair tax will get lowered by a chunk? Thank you.
I'll address at the end of the presentation. So, do you?
Yeah. No, I think we covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to, so just with the format here, just want to kind of get the other presentations done, and I'll stick a pin in that one and come back to it. Trust me, I'm a taxpayer here also. Nobody wants the taxes lowered more than me. With that said, Manny.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Manny Germano, Emmanuel Germano. I'm the superintendent of parking for the township. Right now, I just want to tell you a little bit about the township, about the parking utility, and what we're doing, where we're planning on going with the license plate recognition, which is our biggest thing right now. Is we're doing license plate recognition on for all the permits. We got rid of all the paper permits. There was a lot of problems, believe it or not, with people making fake permits with PDF editors, and a lot of people parking where they shouldn't be parking and taking parking away from people where they should be parking. So we went to an LPR system, which is nice because now the new LPR system, we have it on 2 vehicles right now. We're in the process of getting it for 2 more vehicles. Right now, the LPR system takes care of not only the regular daily permits, it takes care of the overnight permits. It also takes care of anybody who pays with Park Mobile and anybody who pays with Flowbird. So everything is integrated. It makes it a lot easier for us to enforce. It eliminates a lot of erroneous tickets that were being issued at the time. So that helps us a lot. Right now we have 9 PEO officers. We were in the process of, oops, hold on a second. I went the wrong, too many slides. We're in the process of actually doing a little bit more, especially in this ward because of the Wellmont and the issues we've been having with parking and people parking in permit spaces when they shouldn't be parking in permit spaces. A lot of out-of-town guests feel that they can just park anywhere they want and park in a lot of your spots that you guys are paying for. So, or in front of fire hydrants, or in the corners, or in the corners, like what you were just mentioning before about the no parking here, the corners and stuff.
So I just want to jump in right here for a second because I get a lot of emails from folks that pay for a monthly parking permit and somebody goes and parks that doesn't have a permit, and they call me about enforcement. Now, Manny's group, the way that they enforce the parking permits is they give tickets, right? Right now, if someone's parking someplace where they shouldn't be, we don't tow cars, right? The ordinance doesn't call for that, right? So just want to kind of put that out there, when folks are emailing me saying, hey, come enforce it. We can give you a ticket. Right now, the car is not going to be towed. Only the police chief, I believe, has the
correct.
authority to tow a car, and I guess that's kind of in an extreme situation. So I just want to throw that out there in case any folks from Seymour Street are here. Okay.
Two cars illegally parked, one behind the permit parking sign and another car from New York, who I watched from my bedroom window pull up, park in front of I called the police department, I went downstairs, they said, "Can you come down, pour out the car?" I said, "It's obvious, I'll come down." And I had a policeman tell me, "Well, they can break the window in the car if it's a hydrant." But eventually, the car was towed, because I literally had to say to the guy, "What is your badge number, what is your name, and where is your supervisor?" And I want to talk to him here. And eventually, that person showed up, and the car was towed. But the one in front of him was...
Right. Like I said, the police department does it. Manny's area is not the police department. They're parking enforcement, two different areas. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% because there's a lot of times where, you know, it's multiple, it's the same offender over and over again too, we've noticed. That happens a lot too. And unfortunately, the way the ordinances are written right now, and that's what we have to follow because we don't write the ordinances, council writes the ordinances. The way it states right now is you have to have 3 tickets on a vehicle in order for the parking utility to call the police department to have the vehicle towed. And we can only issue 1 ticket every 24 hours. Right.
Called the police department, I went downstairs, they said, "Can you come down, point out the car?" I said, "It's obvious, I'll come down." And I had a policeman tell me, "Well, they can break the window in the car if it's a hydrant." But eventually, the car was towed, because I literally had to say to the guy, "What is your badge number, what is your name, and where is your supervisor?" Because I want to talk to him here. And eventually, that person showed up, and the car was towed. But the one in front of him wasn't.
Right. Like I said, the police department does it.
Yeah, I understand. Unfortunately, like I said, my hands are tied as far as that goes. The only thing I can do is put more parking enforcement. We can only put more parking enforcement officers out there. I don't know if you noticed today, I had an actual parking enforcement sitting there today. And as people were pulling into the lot, because there's a show going on at the Wellmont, and also at South Fullerton, we had somebody sitting there and saying, "Are you going to the show? Do you have a permit?" "No, you don't have a permit. You have to leave." Seymour as well, correct, Seymour.
They need police enforcement late at night when people are leaving our neighborhoods, screaming, dropping their trash. We have no trash cans in our neighborhood for refuse. I cannot tell you how many miniature bottles of liquor I have picked up on my street, my lawn, my front door, to clean up my neighborhood from the denizens from the Wilmot coming out, creating, nightmares for the people in the...
Well, I'm hoping to help. I'm hoping to help. 1 second. I'm hoping to actually. I'm trying to want to address what he just said because I have a meeting with the owner of the Wellmont next Wednesday, and to talk to him about possibly calling Lyft, calling Lyft and Uber because what we notice is that Lyft and Uber is actually their address for the Wellmont pickup is actually on your street, so that's causing a lot of problems where people are driving down Seymour. And you have a bunch of Uber cars, Lyft cars, and stuff and then they have to turn around. There's no place to turn around. That's the other problem too.
That's why they need somebody there whenever there's an event to keep people from going down Seymour.
My suggestion to him is make the Bloomfield Avenue the actual pickup spot for that's going to be my suggestion to him because Seymour should not be on there. We already changed Summit Health, who used to also have their address as 1 Seymour. That was causing all kinds of problems as well. They changed their address to South Fullerton. So hopefully if we can do that with Wellmont, I'm not saying it's going to cure the problem, but it's definitely going to alleviate a little bit of the problem, I'm hoping. Correct, I'm sorry.
What compounds the problem on the Wellmont performance nights is that public parking at Summit increases their parking for event parking to $30. So if you're going into town to go to the Wellmont, no one's going to pay $30 to go park their car for 2 hours. So that's compounding the parking issue on our streets around our homes.
Right, and they just park anywhere.
And I think a conversation needs to happen with that company to have some sort of fair market rate for event parking. Because if they lowered their price, they've got over 1,000 parking spots in there. If they lowered their rates on a Wellmont night, that will resolve a lot of our parking.
Well, you may not like what I'm going to say, but on event nights, I would like it if we increased our parking so that we can get some of that out-of-town revenue and get to the town coffers. No, not to $30.
It's fine, $30 is really unreasonable when you look at the demographics who go to the Wellmont. Well, look at the right? They're younger people, they're not, they're not older people who go to the Wellmont predominantly, and they're not going to pay $30. They're going to go and find that cheap street parking or free street parking.
Or illegal parking.
Or illegal parking.
We've had our driveway, they park by
But I think that's going to help alleviate the parking issues.
I think just from what I'm hearing here, and you're probably already aware of this, Manny, is on the evening of events, probably the parking enforcement needs to, expand its radius here to surrounding blocks to check for illegal parking and things of that nature, and probably we need to have the police on the blocks around. That's not for you, but probably need to have the police on the blocks surrounding like Seymour and stuff like that. So.
Why don't you make the police department do that and charge it to the Wellmont? Or have the Wellmont hire extra off-duty police to do that circumventing around the neighborhood to push people out and say, there's no parking.
Well, we're
going to have to go circle back on that because
Right.
I really don't know what kind of power we have as far as that goes, as far as being able to force them to do something like that. That actually brings them to the slide here, which is I was going to talk to you about, because a lot of people are under the impression that all the decks are controlled by the parking utility, all the lots are controlled by the parking utility, and that's not a fact. As the two dots you're talking about right now, the parking decks, the one directly behind the Wellmont and the one on 2 South Willow, that has nothing to do with the parking utility. They're private lots, so they can basically make up whatever rules they want as far as pricing goes, as far as their hourly rates, as far as their event rates. We do not have any of that. Our rates are $2 an hour, and that's it. I don't know. I don't know if there's any ordinances or anything on that. Yeah, you can't sell a restaurant. You got to sell your hamburger for $5. You can want to sell a hamburger for $20. You sell your hamburger for $20. If people come, they come. If they don't, they don't. Half of the time, and I'll be honest with you, half of the time the parking lot behind the Wellmont is half empty. I've gone there during shows and it's half empty, because it's got a 15-minute wait. So I actually have gone in there and just to see how many cars they've had in there, and we're full at the Crescent. We're completely full at the Crescent.
Well,
So
one thing, and I don't want to belabor the point on this because I want you to get through your slides and everything like that. But if people stop parking at the parking deck, then they'll adjust their pricing to get people to come in. So.
I know that in the beginning they were charging $30. I believe they're charging $20 now because they weren't getting enough people. So they are charging. I think they've lowered their rates. It goes back to what the counselor said. So there is some market adjustment, if you want to call it that they are doing. Is it better than what we're charging? No, because we're still charging $2 an hour. So if you go to the Wellmont for a show, you pay $6 for parking as opposed to paying $20 for parking, but you're right next to the Wellmont. I don't want to. I'm sorry. Yes.
Is the Midtown deck the deck that's on Glenridge Avenue?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I live right near there, so that's a municipal deck, so maybe you can answer this question. Can I get an overnight, one-night parking permit every once in a while, park overnight in that deck? Are those?
You would have to. You can either buy an overnight permit, but it's only by the month.
Oh, okay. So for overnight, I could get like a street parking permit.
That's correct. Yes, you can buy what we used to call the scratch-offs. Is basically an online permit now. So you buy a daily permit. You can buy a batch of 10 of them. If you want to buy 10, you can buy. I think you can buy up to 30 of them, and they're good for 3 years. And then as you get people to come to visit you, or as you need them, you would just activate it for that day. I'm sorry.
So I can take my car out of my parking spot at my building, and I put my
Car in that deck every once in a while.
It wouldn't be on the deck. It would be on the street for the daily permits. That
Oh, right, right. Oh, 'cause it's no overnight in that?
Correct, that does not allow for permits.
Are there any overnight decks in this list that you provide?
No, it would have to be a surface, you would have to park in
Anything is
one of the
sponsored.
surface lots, yeah, one of the surface
Oh,
lots.
okay.
Like Fullerton, Plymouth, any one of those lots, and you know, Gates Avenue lot, you can park in any one of those lots. Okay, so as it states there, if you are interested in purchasing a permit for the Crescent or Midtown, or Bay Street, as a matter of fact, North Fulton deck. This is a mistake on this, by the way, because North Fulton deck you cannot buy a permit for that deck. That uses the regular C and N permits. Yes, sir.
On event nights at the Wilmot, are there spots in our municipal decks that tend to be available? Is there room in the municipal decks typically on an event?
Are you concerned if you're a permit holder, you're talking
No,
about?
I'm just saying, do you have empty spots?
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Okay.
But there are times we fill up.
Okay, how about advertising that to people going to the Wellmont?
Oh, no, but that's what I'm saying, we do fill up. A lot of times we fill up, but a lot of times.
Well, that's what I was asking, do you have empty spots or not?
Most of the times we fill up. But what we do leave some room for the monthly holders, because we
I
have
see.
monthly permit holders, so we have to.
I see, but typically on event nights, you do fill up.
Yes. So, again, that goes back to what I was just saying, it's $2 an hour to park there as opposed to paying $20 to, you walk an extra 500 feet. So people have found out about it and people do park there. In the beginning, we were having problems with Midtown Deck. People were not parking enough in Midtown Deck, but since then, people have discovered the Midtown Deck and people are parking there now. So we are almost filling up. Sorry.
It's on event nights to have people park at Bay Street and sort of.
And then you would have to now you have to get a shuttle involved and everything else. Yeah,
Well,
that would be a little problem, yeah.
I mean, we want to, and I'm gonna take one more. I'm gonna take one more question. Do you have a lot?
No, that's.
I'm gonna take one more question. So yours.
Can you go over the different
Okay, so right now we have the for the Central Business District here, we have the C permit and the N permit. Unfortunately, there is a wait list for the C permit. We have been calling off of the wait list, so we've actually shrunk it down into about 100 spaces, which the C permit is the day permit for the Central Business District. The N permit, there is no wait list. So if you need an N permit to park at night between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m., you can just call our office and we'll get you an N permit, which means lets you park Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. through 8 a.m., and then on Saturdays, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. You can purchase the N permit online. If you go to the website and you click on the, it's right on the main page. If you click on parking permits, you do a sign up. It's free. You sign up, and then you sign up for that particular permit. We'll be in touch with you if it's for an N permit. At night in the surface lots, not in the decks, not in the parking decks. Surface lots is like the lot across the street and the lot down South Fullerton, the lot on Gate Street. That would be the surface. That's what we call a surface lot. It's level. It's not a garage. Yes. Okay. And then then we have what I was mentioning before, which is the single use permit. Now there is on street. So there's 18 streets in the town that allow you to park. This gets really confusing. You got 18 streets in the town, which is like right here at South Fullerton, and also on Union, where you can park on the street overnight if there's spaces available. Again, they're all waitlisted, unfortunately, because there's a limited amount of spaces available. And if people have purchased the permits to park there, obviously we can't sell extra permits, because then you're going to be calling me up and going, "You sold me a permit, I can never park there. This is crazy." So we can't do that. So we create a wait list. I know Seymour Street residents have been asking for a permit to park on Seymour. Right now, we're allowing people with C permits and N permits to park on Seymour. I was talking to the counselor before this meeting actually about this. There's 9 spaces on Seymour Street, 9 legal spaces. If we create an SY permit, and even if we do a lottery and say, okay, the first 9 people's names that we pull out of a hat and get those permits, we're going to be ticking off a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to be like, well, how come I can't get one? And obviously we would create a wait list after that. But I think we come to the consensus that we're gonna put out some sort of
communication to the folks that right now have C and N that's Central Business District, and N is for night, that are basically park in that area, to let them know about this new SY permit.
And basically get the consensus of how do you want to handle it? Do you want to leave it the same, leave it the CNN permits the way it is, and just be a little bit more strict on the enforcement? Maybe even come up with an ordinance that says, you know, if you're parked there and you don't have a CNN permit, maybe tow the car away. You know, maybe that would be something that, you know, we put those signs up all over the place, and maybe make it that strict. That might help instead of actually coming up with a permit that's only good for 9 people.
And just before we move off this topic, because we're running short on
Yeah.
time and we have 2 more folks that need to present, is lost my train of thought that quickly. Oh, in that private deck on, what is it, South Fullerton? It's Seymour, right?
Which one?
The entrance is on South Fullerton.
Okay, so yes.
So you want to?
Yes.
So the entrance to that parking deck that's above Summit, right there, it's on South Fullerton. There's a way you can enter in on Seymour, but there's only a certain number of spots there. Most of the spots are on South Fullerton. So there are 10 reduced pricing spots in there, right? I think it's $130 a
Yes,
month.
if you don't mind, I'll take over at that point. So if when the developer built the buildings, the agreement was that 71 spaces were taken away from you when they put those 2 buildings up. Those 71 spaces, with the agreement stated that they would be able to sell those spaces back to you as long as you're a resident at the reduced rate of, because I think they're charging $200 for a monthly spot there for 24-hour access. It would be at the same rate that we charge at the Crescent, which is $130. So that would be the rate for covered parking. You pay $130 and you can park there, you know, at the Seymour lot. There are 10 spaces. The last time I checked, which was about 2 weeks ago, there were 10 spaces still available. So 61 of those spaces have been taken. There's 10 spaces available for residents only to pay for that reduced rate, if anybody's interested.
And how would they?
And you can get a hold of me, reach out to me, reach out to MPU at Montclair Parking, and we'll get you the phone number, we'll get you the contact information for the garage and who you need to get in hold of.
We'll take one more question, and we're going to go on to the next presenter. Okay.
A slightly different scenario. On Gates Avenue, a lot of gates until about Hamilton Harrison is 2-hour parking on the street. Residents are getting ticketed because they're single driveways, they're short driveways. So a lot of folks residents park outside their home and get ticketed if they're there for longer than 2 hours. And there's a little bit of a discontent happening around the fact that a resident can't park outside their home without getting ticketed. Is there a way to provide residents a permit to park on the street in front of their house during the day and not be liable to the 2-hour parking, because it's very unfair?
Well, you know what, email me about the area that we're talking about, because we have a mobility committee, and just one of the things that I've been involved in is overnight parking. As Manny said, we have 18 streets where you can buy a permit to park overnight parking, and we're looking to potentially expand that a little bit beyond the 18, and we're just running through the data right now and seeing what works and what doesn't. So email me about that, and we can take a special look at that. Thank you.
And one more thing, just to add on to that, is that we've also realized that on some of the ordinances, even though they're not being enforced and some of the signs don't reflect this, there are a lot of streets that have this 2-hour and 4-hour parking that is for 7 days a week and not Monday through Friday, which would actually cause even more problems for you. So we're actually trying to change that all those to Monday through Friday and getting rid of that. But the 2-hour thing, maybe we can extend it to 4-hour or 6-hour. I believe that was put in place because of the restaurants and the business people they were basically parking a block away and then going to the restaurants and stuff and taking over the spaces in front of your house. I think that was ultimately why that was created.
And I understand the need for that, but I think there needs to be some sort of accommodation for residents.
and we'll move on. Thank you, Manny. It's funny, we were looking at something similar for that for Forest Street, actually, and, you know, it was just because people on Forest Street, they live right next to the Midtown deck, and all day long, folks were parking there on Forest Street, and, you know, people couldn't get out of the driveways, and people are speeding up and down Forest Street and stuff like that, but there was like a big uproar because folks were just like, oh, you're making a private street, right? So it was, you know, we do look at these things, but then we have to take the public feedback. So, Planner Tally.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we will have some good news for you. I've been working with Councilor Rahum and other staff at 205 Claremont Avenue to move ahead with the long-delayed improvements to the Church Street roundabout. This first came about when we were working on the redevelopment plan for Valley and Bloom. This is all of this development has taken many, many years. The road improvements have been taking many, many years. When this started, you know, we decided to have the developer give us funding to come up with a plan to improve the Church Street roundabout, which we did do, and we hired a landscape architect, Arterial, who's based here in Montclair. They did an excellent job, and this is just how a little bit is the approach that they used. They came up with a vision on what we were going to do for the Church Street roundabout and connect the different land uses and neighborhoods through improvements to that roundabout, and that those improvements would actually include the roadways that line the roundabout and not just the roundabout itself. So this gives you an idea of the approach. The first approach, part one, was to make the physical changes to the roundabout. Those of you who have been here for a while, you can remember when it looked like this. This was probably 7 years ago. So phase one was to make the structural improvements to the roundabout. Phase two was, at that point, to replace the fountain. The fountain that was in the roundabout was placed there in the 1970s. It was through the generous donation and fundraising of the Garden Club of Montclair. They maintained it for many years, and then unfortunately, it became in poor shape, and we ended up getting rid of it, and it was removed. So this was the schematic design that was prepared by Arterial, and this was the basis. We did a visioning effort, worked with the council at that time, worked with the public. This was what came out, and this was the basis for us to get funding to make the physical improvements at the roundabout. This gives you an idea of the ultimate plan. There's a lot of trees here, a lot of plantings, some seating, a fountain. This is where we want to be at the end. So unfortunately, we didn't have the funding to do the entire project. We only got funding from the state of New Jersey to do the physical improvements to the roundabout area. That part works. That was done. What we haven't done is we have not put in the fountain. We have not done the softscape and hardscape improvements. Here you can see the council at the time that this was put in place wanted to replace the fountain with a new artistic fountain, which is very beautiful. These granite plinths that would have had water spouting off of the top. The price tag for that, unfortunately, was $400,000. So we never got the funding or found a funding source to do the fountain, which is why this was the second phase of this project, which is the fountain and the surrounding improvements, was never completed. And this is just another close-up picture of what we want this to look like. So Councilor Rahum said, well, it's been 5 years since you've fixed up the roundabout. We can't wait anymore to make this place attractive. So I showed him the photos, the plans for this area, and the price tag. And as you know, we have a problem, budgetary issues this year. We don't have a spare $400,000 for another, to install this fountain. So we're coming up with an alternative approach, an approach that would be more cost-effective, to, instead of spending $400,000 investigating an alternative, putting a piece of sculpture there, doing a competition to try and get making it an artistic component rather than the fountain. I've done some outreach. The price tag for doing that approach is much less. Approximately, I was quoted a couple weeks ago, about $50,000 would be needed, at least for the sculptural component and the support. We've also met with the Garden Club again to try and get their support to come up with we have the landscaping plan. We have to provide some funding to do the landscaping and the hardscaping, but they were committed to helping with the landscaping and maintaining it. So there's a lot of interest in moving ahead with finishing this project. So that's a priority. And basically, that is what we're trying to complete this year. And that was the good news. You're not going to look at the dirt mound that's there right now. We will beautify it.
Come up around that circle, it's not going to stay continuing to look like that because the buses drive straight over.
Yep, you're right. You're right. That's because what this doesn't show is there will be a beyond that. You'll have the plaza area with the mountable curb will be part of it because there's nothing we can do. But the buses and the trucks will cross that mountable curb. But there'll be a protected area in the center where we will have the sculpture. There'll be some low-level landscaping around the area. And really the focus will be also improving the areas surrounding the roundabout where people walk, where we'll have the additional landscaping.
Without the speed bump. I mean, I came from DC where you were on the roundabout, you had the right of way. If I'm on that roundabout, it's worth my life for the next guy shooting past Krauser trying to beat me to the circle. And you need to do something from a safety point because this is not a solution if it's still dangerous for people trying to drive around there and other people who cannot read that yield sign in front of them. Right through. Right through it.
Point taken. Thank you.
I have two questions. In terms of the funding for this, you mentioned about Valley and Bloom. Weren't they supposed to have, because they built up or they did something, payment in lieu of taxes, weren't they supposed to have financed and paid for that area to be refurbished?
No, they paid for, they were required to make a payment. Their payment was $40,000, and that was used to do the design work.
The other question I had, and I'm really at a loss as to which direction I'm moving from, but you're at Beyond Tifa and that area there where it says Church Street Plaza or something. The stone bench that has been there for years has been ripped out. There's nothing there. There's nowhere for anybody to stop and sit if they're coming out of Beyond Tifa or dry cleaner or Crowders. And what happens to the other benches? Those homemade, gorgeous mosaic benches that were there probably before your time, outside of Crowders. They told me they did not personally renew those. Why were those ripped out of the ground?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know what happened to those benches.
Well, I'm told it was done by the town.
If it was,
What about the bench at Church Street Plaza? If this is going to be refurbished, there's now just a gaping spot where cement has been ripped out.
yep. That's something that we will, I know the plan calls for seating. So,
Not to be sitting in the middle of the street, so,
N-
I mean,
no,
that bench away. It was working bench. I'm not talking about the two concrete ones with the mosaics. The one at Church Street Plaza.
Yeah.
At the parking lot on the other side of the crowd.
yeah. I don't know what happened to those benches. I can't answer that question. I do know, I, if you'll
Ms.
let me.
Stockhammer, I'll look into that. I got to figure out who in the town would be the right person to do it, but I'll look into it.
If you look at the plan, this is the plan that, the construction drawings that we submitted, you'll see there is, within this plan, there is seating around the edges of the roundabout. So if you look at, the Board of Education is here, okay? This is the church. That's and so you see here, these are the benches that were part of the plan. So yes, the old benches were removed. I don't know where they are, but the plan is to replace them. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Just 1 sec. So right now we're gonna call up Manager LaPola to give a general update.
No, this is not answers.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael LaPola. I am the interim township manager. I came here in August of 2023 on a 3-month assignment, in which I am in month 19. Just give you a little background about myself. I'm a lawyer by training. I started off in government and politics when I was elected a freeholder in Union County in 1983, which was a long time ago. I served 2 terms there. I served an assistant counsel to the governor. I served as state director for Senator Bill Bradley. I served 6 years as the first assistant prosecutor in Union County, 6 years as the Union County manager, 6 years as the executive director of the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, where I merged the old Highway Authority, which ran the Parkway, with the Turnpike Authority, and then spent about 12 years in the private sector as managing director of a Madrid-based infrastructure investment firm, where I was in charge of North America. I then retired and came back for this assignment, thinking, why not? It's 3 days a week. Sounds like fun. Those are famous last words. I just want to talk about some of the stuff that was raised tonight, and I'll take your questions. First, I want to talk a little bit about the budget. As you know, last year we had a tax increase, and I just want to give you a little perspective on what was going on last year and what's happening this year. We have some major cost components over which we have no control. What we have to contribute to the state of New Jersey for pensions, for our employees and for police, for 205 employees and for police and fire. Our costs for health care are going up like everyone else's. This year, we have a 16% increase that we get our health benefits through the state of New Jersey, and we have a 16% increase. We also have some labor contracts, which we inherited. And you may have heard over time, there's these 7 and 8 year contracts. Now, in budgeting in New Jersey, we have what's called the cap law. Okay, so the cap law says you can't raise your spending more than 10%. It doesn't apply to the entire budget. There are exceptions they make. So you get down to about $100 million, about out of $70 million that's spending, we have a 2% cap. But in some of these labor contracts, which Councilor Williams, Mayor Baskerville and I inherited, those increases are 3.25% and 3.5% this year. So when you do the math about the impact, and Deputy Mayor Shin Anderson, when you look at those numbers and you see the impact on our budget, because it doesn't matter what the cap law is, if we have to raise salaries over 3%, it puts us in a very difficult position. I can assure you that we are working very hard. The Finance Committee, where the mayor, Councilor Williams and Councilor Birmingham are members, to make sure that this year we are very careful with our spending. We also are at a time where we have to start addressing some of our capital issues. The building that we are in at 205 Claremont, I think initially was a Unisys building that I think probably was donated to the town just so they can get rid of it. And they put walls in it, and but the walls don't go to the ceiling so everybody can hear everything. And the building is literally falling down. If you go to police headquarters, the exterior of the building is beautiful, but it hasn't been upgraded in generations. With the exception of the fire department headquarters on Pine Street, we've done no investment in our infrastructure, aside from streets, in 40 years. So literally, these buildings are falling down. If you go to the library, both branches, this building and the other branch, have major, major issues. So we are taking our time to do an assessment. We are going to fix what needs to be fixed and hopefully replace what needs to be replaced. I know there'll be a lot of community input when those decisions are made. But these are some tough choices we have to make. But when you put off these capital investments as we have over the years, and I understand there's reasons over time why things were not done, but we can't, my observation as someone who spent their entire career in Union County is that we can't get, we're very process-driven in Montclair, but sometimes we get so caught up in the process, we never get to the results. We have to have a goal in mind about what we're trying to accomplish, have a time frame in which we are going to do it, and get it done. Because there's been so much talk about these projects over the years. I mean, and it's just time. As a manager, I think it's, way overdue. I just wanted to address one other issue before I take your questions. There's been a lot of press over the past few months involving the alleged closing and sale of the animal shelter. This started because a certain person who was suing the township put online that, I am not wrong, that we are, that we were going to sell the animal shelter to a particular developer. Those conversations never occurred by me, the developer, or anybody else. No one is selling anything. No one is closing anything. I'll take full responsibility for this. As you face a tight budget, we spend a lot of money on the animal shelter, okay? And it is looked at like every other division, department, part of the government. We look at everything to make it more efficient. Looking about making it more efficient or how we spend money, I do the same thing with the police department, the fire department, and everybody else. When you can't raise taxes to cover it, we have to figure out what to do. We don't want to lay off employees. We don't want to cut services. We want to do what's best for everyone. But there are no plans, nor there have ever been any plans about selling this building. It's ridiculous. It truly is ridiculous. And how something like that from a post on a Facebook account could create this crazy whirlwind. It's very, is just insane to me, but that is what happened. There are no discussions. We have no.
Sir, your characterizations of ridiculous, crazy, you really coming on in a very
Well, I don't know. When someone posts, no, I'm not. If someone, if someone posts a lie,
for which those fees are paid, why was that eliminated?
Because there were operational issues with the animal shelter. That's why. And I know there are people who are passionate about animals and saving animals. But think about this. We spend more on the animal shelter than we do on all senior citizen services in this town. It's reality. So let me finish. So when someone says the animals we have a transfer program, but we have other humane facilities that are overpopulated. The notion that we would, in my opinion, with all due respect, is that we're not there to pick up the slack for other towns who cannot do what they are obligated under their budget or contractually to do. My point. The notion that we should operate because the humane, as people came to our microphone the other night, the humane shelter in Newark is overpopulated, that we should take those animals and pay for it in a perfect world, I understand that. But these are Montclair taxpayer dollars, and we cannot solve all of the problems for all of the animals. We have demands. It took over 20 years, I think, at least 20 years, and we finally are in and hopefully in about 6 weeks' time, maybe a little bit more, opening a senior center in the building next door. Over 20 years. Now that facility is going to be beautiful. Is it what it should be, in my opinion, for the seniors? No.
That facility is administrative offices with 7 parking spots
Oh, please, okay.
for $14,000 a
Well,
month.
we worked very closely with all of the senior
Not a senior
citizen groups.
facility.
We worked very closely with all the senior citizen groups to get that done. So, of course, there will always be some people who are not happy, but we have made every effort. I think it's going to be great. I think the parties involved are the groups we worked with all the senior groups, are very happy about that. But I wanted to raise the issue about the animal shelter, because I know, Lord knows, it's every meeting, but that's what happened here. And the transfer program was stopped, and I understand what they pay for, but they don't pay for all of our staff who takes care of the animals that are there the whole time. We had a great meeting with the head of the Friends of, and we're working towards making improvements and hopefully resuming part or all of that program. But until the internal issues were resolved, we stopped it for now, because that is not a priority. I mean, we're talking about a transfer program where the animals came from Georgia, Tennessee, wherever they're coming from, which is a great thing, but and they're being adopted by people, most of whom don't live in Montclair. But the program itself had some issues. We fixed it, we gave them some more support, and we had to have controls in place. And we had a good meeting with the Friends of, and I think we are working towards a overall solution. Now I'll take your questions. Sure.
On Roosevelt Place, 5 Roosevelt Place. It spans Seymour Street, Roosevelt Place, and South Fullerton. The plaza. I have gone and spoken to everybody. Nobody can help me. When there is a band on the plaza, it is so loud. I've called the health department. Oh, supposedly they're going to come out with their meter and measure the volume of it. It rocks my condo for 5 hours straight. Nobody can help us. What, I mean,
I do.
The music is horrible.
Sure.
It is so loud. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is, what time. It starts at 5, it goes to 11, 12. It rocks our, I have to leave. I have to go to the library, I have to go food shopping, I have to go
more
out.
information, but I do recall, Janice, maybe you can help me with this, that we are contractually obligated, and I'm not sure in which agreement is it, to allow those concerts.
I get it. It's
I'm
the
just saying,
volume.
it's not that we, previous administrations allow,
What's the time
This is
limit? When do they
new.
have
This
to
is-
stop?
Or just the volume of it. The volume is so loud. Like you need to come to our building on a night that there are on the plaza. It is so loud.
And it really runs on a Saturday night, it can run.
It's
till
Thursday,
10:30.
Wednesday,
Oh, no.
Friday,
And-
anytime.
And I live right at the end of the building, I have no choice
Right.
but to go to the concert.
Even when they
Like I have
yeah.
to, it's just.
Even when they're doing yoga, which is supposed to be calming, they got the microphone and they're loud as anything. It is ridiculous.
So here's what I'll. I get it. I go. There's probably one of your neighbors, Mr. Melman, I forget, but he contacts me all the time about the Wellmont. I'm surprised. I don't know if he's here tonight. Right. So this is one of right. This is one of the issues here that I am going to insist that you do not wait for a town hall meeting. I wait. Hold on a second. This issue I have brought it up to the health department, which strange thing I found this out myself, that the health department is in charge of noise complaints, and they send it to, I think, either the county or it goes to the county, and then the county comes out and inspects it and things of that nature. But I do think, because I am getting a lot of these complaints about the concerts, that we do need to look at something in terms of the frequency and the volume. I hear you.
Jacqueline, I called the health department, I spoke to them, they're like, oh, we're gonna come out with this volume, decibel here. Nobody has ever come out.
Well-
And it took me like, I went to so many people to like finally got that it's the health department, and it's still nothing. So I didn't wait to this meeting, I've been doing this for over a year.
No, I appreciate what you're saying, and I hear you. And it is on our radar. One of your neighbors has been routinely reaching out to me about this, and it's on our radar. So leave. So what we can, so why don't we do this? I'm receiving everything that you're saying here. I heard you. This is the town manager who runs the town, essentially. So we hear everything you're saying. We're going to look into this. I think probably an ordinance needs to be tweaked a little bit so that things like this do not disturb people. So I hear you. Yes? I can't tell you how long something like that's going to take. All I can.
You can appeal to other people. There are other neighborhoods that are not being affected by this. People in Ward 1, Ward 4. You are very fortunate. You live far enough away that you don't feel it. We are in their back pockets. And we are constantly bombarded by them. I heard you.
So they're not required to abide by the noise ordinance or the special
They're contractually obligated to put on 12 events a year, okay? Because it's an arts plaza, and when they design this thing, what we have to do is sit down with them, but also figure out through an ordinance. But the noise ordinance, I think what we have. Yeah, we will work on with the counselor to set those limits.
The reality is there's technology that helps mitigate sound in outdoor areas. And I think it's looking at what that technology is and what's available and speaking to the owners of the Roma to see whether they can implement that technology. You can direct sound a certain way, you can buffer it. So there are things that can be done. It takes money.
New Zealand is outside. What happens is all the buildings are reverberating on the street.
There's technology to mitigate that noise. So it's just, it has to be an exploration and a conversation with the Roma.
You can't lessen the noise from the live. You're going to hear a drum. You can't lessen that noise. So
They have it amplified, that's what the problem is. So,
and I know they have a problem with the heat, but there's a noise coming from the library that's constant. Go out here, that's what you really hear in the morning, but today and night. It sounds like someone has their hand on the wall. If you listen, when you go outside here, we have, the library, we have acknowledged problems, and they haven't been able to fix it, so I hope. And of course, the library needs to get fixed, because it's constant, it's 24-hour, in the winter, sun's bad, again, in the summer, it's all night long. So it goes 24 hours.
Yeah, I think the library directors are aware of that. Because I think one of your neighbors has reached out to me, and I connected him with the library director.
Yes, we've emailed a few times.
Okay. Are there? Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm gonna point out the gentleman right there that's waving. He's the head of DCS, and he's responsible for all the streets. I think you said 86 miles of street or 82 miles of street in town. So he would be the person to reach out to you, so you could connect with him tonight or send him an email at a later time.
Just a question about the firehouse on Harrison Avenue.
Mhm.
What's the plan, and what is the timetable for whatever that plan is?
I don't know what the plan is for that firehouse. It's been closed. I think somebody from the fire union came and said it's been closed for 500 days. It's been closed. I don't know what the plan is for that. But what I will say here is Noah asked about taxes and things of that nature. We have a lot of infrastructure issues here, and I don't know if that what I think the priority here is safety, right? And safety, and I'm sure that our firefighters are ensuring our safety right there from Bay Street as it is right now. But as it is right now, we have plenty of buildings within Montclair that need tremendous amount of help. You're talking about the noise coming from this building right here is because something's wrong, that a building is producing sounds here, right? And we got the library budget here, and they need a lot of support and resources. 205, if you ever go into Manager LaPola's office, you can't even see out the windows, right? Because that building is awful. So the primary concern here is making sure that we have the folks here that if we have a fire or if we need law enforcement and stuff like that, that they're able to work in a nice facility, which they have at Bay Street right now. So that is the priority right now. So in terms of that firehouse, have no clue when it'll be open. But we're going to be in pretty dire straits for the next couple of years because we have, as Manager LaPola pointed out, we have all of these concerns with labor going up and health insurance going up. And then you saw that the current administration that's in Washington, they put a freeze on funding, and that put everything in turmoil. They rescinded it, but you don't know. It's kind of like the wild, wild west. So one of the things that I want to leave folks with here tonight is we're all going to have to make some sort of sacrifices. And this isn't in reference to the firehouse. So, don't leave this saying, oh, Councilman Williams said he's going to close the firehouse. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is we're going to have to make sacrifices in terms of things that we may have been used to that are those resources are going to have to be shifted to someplace else in the town that have been under-resourced. And it's gonna hurt. People are gonna be very angry. They're gonna be angry at me. They're gonna be angry at the town manager. But it's gonna be necessary because that's what you elected these folks to put in office to do, to make tough decisions and deal with the outcries when they come. But that's, I can't, I have to be totally honest with you.
That's true.
That's right.
When you say dire straits, like, what are you saying that we're like comfortable with that we're not gonna have anymore?
I don't know. I don't know because we.
I heard something about $50,000 sculpture.
So that I don't know. So with the budget, it's pretty dynamic. There's the folks that take care of us every day. They need to be compensated. We have to do that, and so. The primary thing which the manager tries to do and which the council tries to do is we want the folks that take care of us on a daily basis to feel valued, and the people that are paying the taxes, we want them to feel like they're getting value for their services, right? So that's the balance there that we have to strike. And so that's what I'm referring to when I'm talking about dire straits. And, yeah, you're going to see some things that people are going to say, hey, well, why are you spending this money on these plantings here? Just leave it as dirt. We can, I mean, here and there, right? So.
Can I just add one thing to it? Well,
not.
I just think that's market forces, because rents.
So we don't, for the most part, and I love our business district. For the most part, we don't generate sales tax that goes to the town. It goes to the state, right? So the stores are an amenity for us. I mean, it improves our quality of lives. Our breweries improve my quality of life, right? So that's one things that folks don't know. You know, the businesses, the taxes don't really come to it, but they do bring people in. It makes it a great place to live, and I'm glad. This is the best place I've ever lived in my life, and I like that I'm able to walk. The property taxes are going to get paid whether it's vacant or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. The property taxes get paid whether it's vacant or not, but I would much rather have a business there than an empty storefront.
And can I just mention one thing about taxes, because I meant to. So for every dollar of taxes you pay, over 56% go to the schools, 22% goes to the county, 2% goes to the library. So out of your tax bill, about 26 and a third, Norma, correct me, about 26 to 27% goes to municipal services. So about 25 cents of every dollar you pay, a little bit more than that, we get. The overwhelming majority goes to the schools. The county gets their share. So when you get your, unfortunately, $20,000 tax bill, don't think that $20,000 comes to us. It doesn't. We get about
like
$5,500,
right.
out of that $20,000 tax bill. So I just wanted to be clear about that.
You've been trying to ask a question all night.
And they don't have nowhere to park, and they gotta do their work, so they park right there. And then somebody goes around them and turns left, decides to turn left, and you're like, oh my God, you're just gonna sit here until it all clears up. So that's one reason I came. I don't live in that Wilmot area, so I have never heard all of this horrible stuff. You're lucky. Yes. So anyway, Bluefield Avenue, if there's any plan to do something, I don't know.
When the new building was built at Willow and Bloomfield, there was supposed to be a 10,000 square foot black box theater. I've heard nothing about how that space is being dedicated to the use of the municipality or the township. What is the status of that? This tower. The black box theater that was dedicated to the town by the developer of the new apartment building at Willow and Bloomfield. What is the status of that? Because I've seen nothing about that space being used for municipal and town benefit.
There was no black box theater. It's 10,000 square feet in that building at 2 South Willow is to be dedicated to arts. So we've got a couple of arts retail stores that are meeting that 10,000 square foot requirement. There's one there. I think there's another, I can't tell you the names of those.
There's like a pottery.
There's a pottery store, and there's another one that faces on Bloomfield Avenue. And I can't recall the name off the top of my head. But the developer did provide a total of 10,000 square feet of uses that meet the definition of art space. And there was never a...
Do they pay rent? They pay rent. They pay rent. And who gets the rest money from that?
The building owner.
The building owner. So it really doesn't benefit the town that he made this magnanimous generous.
Well,
no,
it's an amenity.
No, because it was a requirement that it be arts related. The whole redevelopment plan called for an arts plaza. The arts plaza supported uses that related to the arts plaza that were limited to, so he had a tough time. It took him a long time to get those arts related uses. So that's the benefit. Well, when I say arts related uses, I meant those tenants. So those tenants had to meet a certain criteria, and that's what we got. And whoever, if they're when they leave or if they turn over, another arts related type use will have to go there. That's written into the code. Yes. Yes. until we change the code. But that's what it says.
One more question?
So one tied in with taxes, and actually a little bit about what Noah mentioned about people, like once their kids have graduated, a lot of times we leave town, it's like, why pay my taxes? We said, is it 60% going to the schools or something like that? So I'm wondering if Montclair is ever considering if it's possible, because I know like my mother lives on Long Island, and there they have it where, I don't know if it's because she's a senior citizen or something, but like with the school, they break down all the tax allocations, but like she doesn't have to pay the school portion. Like if she doesn't have any kids going to the schools or the tax get like low.
No, so there, if you're a senior citizen, there's something called tax freeze, where they freeze it when you apply. I think they freeze it either that year or whatever the case may be, and taxes will go up, but your tax will stay the same. It's not really the same thing. That's probably a Long Island thing. Here, just so folks know, what the municipality does is we act as an agent and we collect the taxes for the county, the Board of Education, and the municipality, and for the library, and then we collect it and then we pay it to them, right? So that's kind of our role.
We also guarantee it, so we collect it and have to pay them 100%. So if we collect 100% of we have 100% we have to pay, but if we only collect 99% of the taxes, we have to eat that money and pay them their full amount. That's how it works in New Jersey, which fortunately here, our tax collection rate is well above 99%, but if you're in a town where it's 97 or 98%, it causes a real additional financial burden.
Okay.
You own the brewery? Yes. Okay, next time bring the beer, please.
We could talk all night.
So tying back to businesses and how it adds some community of life and all of that to the town, and our model being built a community one beer at a time, there's a lot of organizations in town that when they have events, such as like even the 4th of July parade or the Montclair AAPI Lantern Festival or whatever, where they would love for the brewery to be a part of it. However, because these events are in, let's say, at Edgemont Park or at some other park in town, where it says no alcohol is allowed, they can't build that community feel by having us come set up, have a little beer garden. So I'm wondering if there could be a permit. I know other towns like Maplewood now has something like that where they have like an event permit or daily permit where for special events, although on a normal basis that park may not allow like alcohol to be in there, but for special events. And how could we go about creating some kind of permit like that?
That's up to you.
And I think I mentioned that too.
So I want to just wrap up here, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. Once again, this is our second town hall meeting. Hopefully, I'm going to have one in the future, in a few months, and it's going to come out the same way. And just before everybody goes, I just want to get a show of hands. How many folks heard about this meeting from the newsletter? Newsletter. 3, 4. And how many people heard about this from the Montclair Alerts? That was that email that went out? Okay. And how many folks heard about it from my underused social media site? Okay. Right. I'm on that. So I'll talk to you after. But I want to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate your presence. And I want to thank all of our folks from the town that came out in support of this presentation. Appreciate you.